What do you make of Wilson's preferred 4 teams to be traded to if it ever were to go down?
Well, I think, first of all, this is about legacy. I think Russell Wilson is realizing he's been a great player for a long time, and he hasn't had an MVP vote up until this season. And so he's throwing it out there. The 4 teams also are super interesting because they're 4 major markets. We're talking Chicago, Las Vegas, Dallas, and New Orleans. 4 major cities that have a lot to do with football, have a lot to do with things outside of football and entertainment. And I think Russell Wilson is looking at this big picture going, okay, what do I want not only my next 10 years to look like, but also after football and the brand building. And the last thing I'd say is this. You can say you don't plan or want to be traded and then lay out 4 teams. That means you want to be traded. And if I'm the Chicago Bears, this is the perfect time for Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy to save their jobs. I'm on the phone and I'm not getting off. Do not care how many first rounders it would take for me to get him from Seattle. I'm offering as much as it takes.
Listen, that's the thing for me. I don't want to think. I want Russ to come out and say exactly what he wants to happen. Leaving these breadcrumbs and, giving the roundabout speech. I like how Dan Patrick pressed him on, do you want to be involved? Yes. Don't say, I think that would be nice. Say yes. If you want to be traded, say I want to be traded. If not, tell the team what you need and what you want to happen in order to make things better for you. This is one of those situations for me where we trying to speculate and read between the lines with what Russell Wilson is saying. It's simple. Russ, say what you want. Say what you want the Seattle Seahawks to do, whether that's trade you or what they need to do from an organizational standpoint or what they need to do from a player acquisition standpoint. But I don't want to get caught up in maybe this and these are the 4 teams just in case they decided to trade me. No, if you want to be traded, say you want to be traded. If not, say I'm getting ready for the season with the Seattle Seahawks. Look, you guys know I'm always for the player. I'm always in that corner. But I also want the player to say what the hell he wants to happen instead of beating around the bush.
Man, this is the greatest offseason ever from the standpoint of somebody who covers the NFL.
No doubt.
It's just getting started. Think about the names we're talking about here. I mean, the idea that Russell Wilson could be traded. Look, this report from Adam Schefter, it cites the agent. It's not a confidential source. It's Russell Wilson's agent saying he doesn't want to be traded, but if he ever were, these are the only 4 teams he'd accept a trade to. So why on earth is there a list if you don't want to be traded? Why would there be any list? And so the fact that it's in his mind points to a potential split. And I'm not saying it's this year. The sense I get, just talking to people around this situation, there has been communication, even when it's been contentious, between Russell Wilson and Seahawks management on things like how the offense should operate, better pass protection, etc., the stuff that's been reported. But Seattle has kept in contact with Russell Wilson and said, look, teams have been calling about trade offers. We're not entertaining any right now. That's where it stands. They don't want him to find out they're talking to teams behind his back, so they're keeping that line of communication open. My sense is he wants to see how the offseason and the season goes, and if it doesn't go the way he hopes, then we could be talking about a potential trade of Russell Wilson next year. But can we rule out the possibility it happens now? No. With everything that's going on in the league, all bets are off.
Orlovsky, what was that? I saw that reaction right there, sort of that smirk. What's going through your mind when you hear Dan Graziano talk?
Yeah, listen, that's like me going to my wife and going listen, I'm not looking for a divorce, but if I did get divorced from you, I'd try to go marry that girl. This is very strategic by Russell Wilson. And I think we need to change the way that we look at things. For a long time, it's been quarterbacks will never get moved or the salary cap hit, and we're seeing it's different. And I would say this, guys, I don't know exactly where Seattle stands on this. Because Seattle, Pete and John Schneider had a situation where they won a Super Bowl with a cheap quarterback and really talented football team. And then they paid the quarterback, and they haven't been able to replicate that success. And they might sit there and go, you know what, we tried, it didn't work. Throw a punch here and see if we can go back to our old ways.
Man, listen, I'm with y'all, and I understand all of that from Dan Graziano. I understand what Dio said. Russ, tell people what the hell you want to happen, man, and let's move on with it. You referenced the other quarterbacks that didn't move. They made their wants known. Carson Wentz said, I want out of here. Deshaun Watson is telling Houston, I got to get out of here. Matt Stafford, I want to be out of Detroit. I need an opportunity to win. I'm not playing with Russ with these breadcrumbs. Russ, tell people what the hell you want to happen with you and the Seattle Seahawks, and then we could talk about the story of if Russ is moving or not.
Well, whenever that time does come, if it does come, you know that Adam Schefter will be all over it. He'll also be joining us here later on NFL Live. And speaking of quarterbacks, after Trevor Lawrence goes #1, is Zach Wilson the next off the... All right, Mel, so for the first time ever, and you've been doing this at ESPN for 38 years, you've allowed yourself to make trades. And so let's get right to it. You have a trade very early on in this mock draft. What's the projection you've got?
Atlanta moving up, and it's like a method to the madness field. You want to get the Jets in a position to get Kyle Pitts, tight end out of Florida, by moving down to 4. This notion that, well, Wilson could still be there at 4, I don't think so. Somebody's going to jump up. There's a host of candidates that could move up to get Zach Wilson. So if Atlanta deems him the best quarterback after Trevor Lawrence, go get him. Atlanta plan on picking at 4 and have this opportunity in the years to come. So if you have Matt Ryan for one more year, you have the heir apparent in Zach Wilson by moving up from that 4 spot to the 2 spot. That would allow the Jets, obviously, at 4 to get a heck of a weapon if, in fact, Sam Darnold was the quarterback moving forward and tight end Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, Mel, it's going to cost a lot, but there's an old saying, don't wait on quarterbacks, and there is no price too steep to pay if he's really good. Don't go too far, Mel. We're going to bring you right back in a moment. We're going to get Dan Graziano in the mix here for a second, though. Dan, what are you hearing about the Falcons' draft plans? Could they be in the market to move up from pick 4 to get a quarterback?
Yeah, Field, I have heard them connected with Zach Wilson, and I also heard, similar to what Mel has heard, that they don't think he would be there at 4. So if they really did want the guy, they may have to go up to number 3 or number 2 to get him. And I think when you look at the Falcons, yet they have Matt Ryan under contract, and they have said he's going to be their quarterback this year. And as I understand it, that is their plan. So if you take a young quarterback and sit him for a year, that doesn't usually work out unless you're the 2017 Chiefs. But I think with the way the Falcons are looking at it is they're not in a hurry to get rid of Matt Ryan and replace him this year, but they know they're going